All right, Matty, welcome back to the Ask Matty Show. We have a lot of great topics today, Matt, discussing XRP. And I asked you before the show, can you do a price study on XRP? So I'm very excited for that. We're also going to discuss the U.S. government's power over crypto, VELO, buy or wait, and some other topics we have for today here. Matty, how are you feeling?
I'm doing great. As you guys know, this is my favorite show of the week. Of course, I love the other show we put out on Mondays, which is After Hours. We discuss a lot of macro topics, a lot of news. But I like getting in this with you guys, understand what you guys want to know about, and just kind of being more in tune with what you guys need to get more educated on. So excited to be here, excited to talk crypto.
Team, before we get into the content here, become a Crypto Charged member. You can click the pinned link in the comment section down below. It will take you to our website. Someone on our After Hours show for Monday was like, I'm in the UK. Can I still sign up? And you absolutely can. We have shows throughout the week. We have a lot of tools on the platform. Matty did the consistent investor strategy a couple weeks ago. We have Discord exclusive streams in there, an hour long, where Matty's going over the charts. And we have the Discord where you can talk with the community. A community is very important, team. Being around like-minded individuals is so important. It like elevates your investing and it elevates your mindset, and it is necessary. So do that. Pin link, comment section down below. Matty, let's get into the topics for today. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Abs12786 says, can you give an update on XRP? And Matty, I asked you before the show, can you do a price study? I want a deep price study right now, just because I do feel like this might be the last price study we will have on XRP before we see higher prices in XRP. So can you give us that?
Yeah, sure. So let's go ahead and move to the charts here. This is what tells the story for us. And we're going to be popping out to a higher time frame here. So we're on the daily right now. We're going to come out to a weekly chart. One of the things that you'll notice about this chart is that it goes all the way back here to 2013. You'll notice up here it also says crypto. This is where you usually see the exchange listed to tell you what exchange you're on. The reason I use these crypto charts a lot of the time is because TradingView will syndicate all the price action from all the exchanges and give us all the data. So it's important that we always have all the data in front of us. A lot of times you guys will see on the Technical Tune Up Friday show, we'll double check to make sure that we're looking at all the price history, that we're not being bamboozled by, there's only 2 months of price history and this looks good, versus, there's actually 12 months of price history and, now we're making an improper analysis. So always make sure you guys are starting with the most price history available. We look at XRP left to right. It is just a really, really prime example of what we talk about with staples of healthy uptrends, and that's making higher highs and higher lows. And I know everyone's time horizons are different. Everyone has different expectation when they want to be rich, right? Of course, if you raise your hand, when you're going to be rich tomorrow, right? Everyone wants to be rich tomorrow. But when we look at really building a portfolio for yourself, looking at long-term growth, it can't get any better than this, right? Of course, we always want it to happen faster, but structurally, this is absolutely beautiful. So one of the things that we like to look at with any chart that has a meaningful amount of price history like this, especially multiple cycles where we've seen, a bull market, a bear market, and then, another set of, cycle circumstances in front of us, we can start to kind of see trends and get some clues. So one thing that we like to do is grab our fib tool. So I have the fib retracement tool pinned to my little toolbar here. If you guys want to know how to do this on our website, I have multiple tutorials breaking this down, how to set them up, how they look like mine, all those goodies. And we're actually going to grab the last cycle here. So we're going to go from the 2013 cycle high and we're going to go down to the 2017 cycle low. This ended up actually being like a triple bottom in here. We're going to go swing high, swing low, just like that. And again, once you set these fibs up correctly, it will produce all this information for you. Really, just learning how to use them and setting them up correctly is half the battle for you guys here. So what we can see when we had the first little cycle here, so 2013 got a little run up. So you're moving from 0.002 cents to almost 6.7 to almost 7 cents here. So nice little run, obviously collapses from that. After that top comes in, you get a perfect 382 retrace. So we push up into the 382 Fibonacci retracement, dive back down into the bear market. Now you guys can also see here that there was kind of like this pivot zone or like this reaccumulation zone. You guys can see that when we look at kind of the roundedness that came in here, a little bit of that classic accumulation that formed. Of course, we got this little wick in here, but structurally, on this weekly chart, where did most of these candles close? We saw them all closing kind of, around this area. We can even identify kind of like the low here that came in just below that actual low. So you get this lengthy period of reaccumulation after that top comes in. So if we go from top to actually next big candle breaking out, it's about 1,200 days. So this was a meaningful amount of time for XRP to cook up again before kicking off another set of impulses. Now, of course, when we look at, some of the crazy extensions that were hit here, we did find some resistance here at the 4.236, which we consider a full extension. So, if you'd done some profit taking here, you still would have done great, right? Let's say that you had just accumulated from the pivot zone there and you had taken your first big profit up here at the 4.236. 0.236, you'd be taking 28Xs off the table, right? And of course, you're never going to catch the perfect top, but even exiting some of your position at TP1 here, based on the Fib sequence, based on just accumulating an average at the pivot zone, meaning you're not even catching the bottom, scoring a 28X here on XRP could have been a very, very big move. Now, of course, we do go in for a second blow off top here. It actually reaches the 55 extension. What we see here also on the weekly here is that this range continues to be respected. So here, the 2.618 ends up being a big floor of support. We see another throwback here in 2020. That ends up being where the 2020 low came in, just shy of the previous 2.618. And we've seen also when we had the retrace here in 2021, that retraced into the 34 extension. Now, we are below the macro 8 using this older piece of price action in here. So once we have a new cycle high, new cycle low set, we can actually adjust our Fib range and use that new range to help us identify some more shorter term areas of interest. So we go swing high in here, we go swing low in here. So 2017 high, 2020 low, very clear crash structure. You guys can see we came in for a 618 or just under a 618 Fibonacci retracement in here. And then crash back into the bear market. So one of the things that I look for when I say, is this a good macro buy? And I'm going to look at the most recent swing high and swing low. If we are below the 236, it is a macro buy. That's generally a good, safe place to accumulate. Now, can we be more picky? Can we look at some of the other support and resistance zones in here and go, well, really below like 58, 60 cents is like the mega value, but under 85 is still a great deal, considering that we have, the 1.618 at $5.22 up there. So those are some of the things I consider when we look at also the other macro support band that was found in here. So that's gonna be right around the 30-cent mark. This has been a crucial level for XRP. So in 2017, that was the initial top in here, a lot of resistance, turned it into support in 2018 for quite some time, then back into a ceiling of resistance, defended it here in 2022 twice, and we have not revisited it since. So if you guys wanted to set a very cheeky limit, meaning, hey, Bitcoin decides it wants to go take out 45K, rebalance there, I would expect XRP probably around this 30-cent mark. That would be the absolute prime spot to pick up an egregiously large bags of XRP. I'd probably be throwing the kitchen sink here at 30 cents if that was offered again. Right now, I'm pretty happy with my bags, but I just want you guys to see structurally here that we are making higher highs and higher lows. I am looking at least $13, for this cycle because we've been cooking up so long in here. And again, just looking left to right on this weekly chart here, that's higher highs and higher lows. This has been one huge compression structure in here. We look at just the classic flagging patterns that we do tend to see in these markets. Just one massive flag in here that's been forming for a very long time. So, we can get picky about day-to-day price action. We get depressed about the dumps. We can get excited about the pumps. This is the image that is printed in my brain before I go to bed. I know what I want to see over 1,200 days, 1,500 days, 2,000 days, not today, tomorrow, the next day. So I hope you guys take some of this mindset of the macro. This is what we do a lot of studying of to help you guys have like a better vision of where some of our investing thesis comes from. It's not just for the cycle. Of course, we want to extract the cycle, but we also want to set ourselves up for long-term success. We're building portfolios, right? Not windfall profits.
Matty, I want to see you set some up here really quick. So we discussed holding some of these cryptos for the long term, right? And so when we are buying in this accumulation structure or still deep under the 23.6% Fibonacci, that feels like a safe place for us to buy, okay? Now looking towards, we can't foresee, here, let me preface this first. We can't predict what XRP will do this bull run. Do we have an exit strategy for that? Yes. What could you foresee the next bear market, lowest possible price for the next bear market? Because when we look at prices right now at this current moment, it is a lot higher than the previous bear market, right? So if we are trying to build a good bag, we want to continuously over time lower that average, okay? Now, if someone was to wait to get into next bear market, what could you foresee that looking like?
Yeah, so one of the practices that we take a look at to determine if something's even worthy of a long-term hold, and this is something we go over in the consistent investor strategy, is we use that fib-based stuff, right? So we still go swing high, we still go swing low in here, and what we do is we use target one as like worst case scenario, right? So hey, we think that 13, maybe $21, $24 is a very likely blow off top for XRP, but let's say we don't get there, right? Let's say that the market's cut short of its rally, we only get to do one small little take profit. What does that potentially look like coming back down into a bear market from those prices? So what we would like to do is we measure back from that first TP. So that would be the 1.618, it's like $5.34 here. We have a slightly different plan because we do have a couple of different fib ranges that support some different numbers in our coin library for you guys, but this is just for the sake of practicing here on stream. So coming back from $5.34, if the market were to crash, let's say 80%, right? We see altcoins minus 80, 90% off their highs, right? If it comes back 80%, we are sitting right around $1.02, right? So of course, we still want to make sure we're taking a good chunk of profits, whatever. I recommend somewhere between 30 and 50% for TP1. And we want to realize a lot of that principal we've put into the trade so that we're not having as much exposure as the market continues on. Worst case scenario, we've only taken some off the table, we've taken some profit, and then we go back into a bear market. Now, let's say your average is 43 cents, 38 cents, 50 cents. You're still up about 2x on that position. So it still, in my opinion, is a good long-term hold. Now, you're probably thinking, well, Matt, if I take all the profit at TP1 and then we go back into the bear market and I time it perfectly, I'm going to have way more dry powder to put back in the market. Correct. But again, part of the long-term strategy here is, and I cannot foresee a future where this isn't the case, is that we are going to be able to borrow against our portfolios just like we can in the stock market. So you still have all the holdings, you still have all the value, you can take out a low loan to value ratio, take that liquid money out, you don't pay taxes on it because you didn't sell anything. There's no capital gains to be had. There is no taxation on taking out loans, no taxation on debt, all right? It's the most beautiful machine you can possibly, set up for yourself. So we're taking still, and we're going to, get hit with some capital gains on the chunks that we do take out of the market, but we're also going to have some of it that we let ride in the market, both for long-term growth and then also for flexibility for tax-free cash flow that you can put into other businesses, investment properties, whatever it is you want. So I want you guys to understand that we're strategizing not just for today, for tomorrow, we're strategizing for 10 years from now, 15 years from now, setting ourselves up for higher liquidity situations.
On the general topic of crypto, Dustin Hill 206 says, U.S. government has the power to make it worthless, crypto being it. That should scare you. Matty, what is your thoughts about this? Does the government control our crypto and have the power to make it worthless?
Just think about where we are right now in the crypto space, right? Like we are still very, very far away from regulation. We are still passing around rounds of regulatory framework in Congress. We still have a rogue SEC that's getting its teeth kicked in slowly but surely, but it takes time. And even all of this happening right now, and not really even being in the greatest economic conditions, right? We still have a lot of inflation out there. We still have a lot of weak indicators from an economic standpoint. The entire market's worth $2 trillion. I have a hard time believing that a government entity that sees a market that's worth just a couple $1 trillion right now, but is most likely going to be worth 10 or 15 trillion dollars over the next several years, would want to make it completely worthless, right? Now, do they want to control it? Do they want to regulate it? Do they want to tax the hell out of it? Absolutely, 100%. But why would they take a beautiful cash cow that they don't have to put any actual money or time into? Let everyone do their capitalist things. Let everyone do all the creation. Let everyone do all the vetting of what the best tech and the worst tech, and let the free market decide. But then extract from people who make all these beautiful things in the market. Why would they not want to do that, right? That's what it always comes down to. Now, I've heard some of the big, wooers out there and macro doomers of, it's just going to be like gold. They're going to tell you have to turn it in at this price, and, then they'll hold it all, and then the market will go nuts. Guys, crypto doesn't work like that, right? The thing about most of these protocols, if it's a truly decentralized protocol, like Bitcoin, for example, you can take away the foundation, you can take away all the coders, but the network still goes, right? Like if people are still mining, the network still works. Like you would have to shut down every computer in the world to stop the Bitcoin network. And that's just one example, right? There's so many other protocols out there. There's so many coders out there. There's a vast amount of information out there to get started coding if you wanted to. AI is also going to be a huge contributor to continue coding. You literally have to eliminate all the coders, all the technology, all the machines, and control them. And that's near impossible, right? We know that for a fact because we know that cyber crimes are going to continue until the day that I die. Can the government make things worse? Can they step in and make the market maybe more manipulated? Definitely. Do I think that they want to crush a multi-trillion-dollar market? No, not at all.
Epic Titus, AAA. Guys, can you please do a VELO buy or wait? It's so low and juicy, but wondering if it's going lower. Cheers.
Yeah, sure. So we can go ahead and take a look at VELO here. Again, guys, if you are interested in seeing your picks on, charted on a weekly basis, sign up for our program. We have Technical Tune-Up Friday. Every Friday, you guys can drop as many tickers as you guys want in there, stocks, crypto, or otherwise, and we chart them from a technical analysis perspective. And I think people get a lot of value from that. So make sure you guys are not waiting around for this show and getting once a week charting. Get your stuff charted every single Friday. Now, I've actually already done a little bit of a study here with my team on this. We're here on the weekly chart. One of the things that we looked at here is that we are actually, in a value zone, looking at what we like to see with higher highs and higher lows. You had a low established here in December of 22. We have the August low here in 2023, just a little bit higher than the previous. And I think right now we're trying to establish a new low. Now, of course, this is not a scientific squiggly. This is just, representation of what accumulation can look like. But what we have here is the value buy zone. So this would be establishing a higher low. So between 0.004 and 0.006, those are going to be kind of really, really good zones. Now, of course, can we double bottom in here and smack 0.002 again? Possibly, but I think that you're mitigating most of your risk by looking at this value zone, still trying to, establish a higher low. Now, we also look at something called a fair value gap, sometimes referred to as FVG. Kevin Cage is very big on these. He has a lot of tutorials on his YouTube. Highly recommend checking those out. And that would be a potential short-term profit-taking area. So if you were able to establish a position here, let's say you're grabbing the top of range and you were looking to just fill the bottom of that fair value gap, that's about a 10x opportunity. So I agree, it's very, very liquid. It's very, very attractive. And I would say that it's probably the safest place you could buy some VELO. Now, of course, what is the downside risk? 0.002. So just have a conversation with yourself. What does that look like? Do I split my order in half and double down there? That's all going to depend on you, your fund availability, and kind of how you've been approaching this. But I would say for the most part, the risk has been mitigated and we're trying to establish a higher low here, which is always something we want to do, is join an uptrend that's intact, not chasing it. Like you said, we've already come down off that last set of impulses. One of the best times to start entering a position would probably be now. Not financial advice, of course.
Save says, is there anything outside of crypto that can send prices?
Absolutely. And that's kind of what we were alluding to towards kind of the beginning of the episode here, is like there's a lot of factors that contribute to risk on assets. And that's really what we need to view crypto as here, is just kind of moving with the macro risk on market. Now, of course, the stock market is moving in a little bit of a different pace right now. NASDAQ and S&P 500 outpacing the Dow Jones exponentially. And that's because of some of the tech that's inside the S&P and the NASDAQ. But when we look at things like inflation, we look at things like the unemployment rate, when we look at things like what the Fed is going to be doing when it comes to interest rates, that's going to be one of the biggest looming factors that the markets are waiting on right now, is the Fed going to cut earlier than expected? Because we keep getting the can kicked down the road. The employment numbers keep coming back, and they're not really where that's representative of what people are saying what they feel with the job market right now. So the Fed continues to push it down the road and not have to cut as soon as possible. So one of the things that we do look at is that quantitative tightening, quantitative easing model. Right now, we are in a quantitative tightening, moving into kind of like a pseudo quantitative easing with some purchases of mortgage-backed securities and T-bonds, but we have not moved into the rate cutting phase yet. And that's really what the markets are waiting on. So I would say that's one big factor. Of course, we have an election season coming up here that can generally create some really, really crazy moves within the markets before, during, and after the markets. I would say that I think it was in the 2016 election, if I'm not mistaken, the markets rebounded incredibly hard after the rally, after the election, when Donald Trump won that election. So again, can we say that one certain president or one certain thing is going to completely change the markets? No, but I do think there is sometimes market manipulation that happens up into an event, and then after the event is done, then sometimes we can see a reversal in that action. So, can we pinpoint the exact catalyst that's going to make the markets move? No. Can we look at a couple things like the Fed rate that is definitely going to have some sort of impact and say, hey, if this happens and this is likely? 100%. Again, for me, most of the stuff does revolve around just being chart oriented, buying into either accumulation zones and higher highs and higher lows. But we always want to make sure that we have our pulse on the macro. Our resident macro expert, Dan Habib, is on our show once a week to give you guys that breakdown. So if that's something you guys want to get more educated on, check out his show every Tuesday. It's a really, really good show.
Dickie Rich says, can XRP pass what it did last cycle?
Definitely. I think we kind of covered this in the last little analysis we did there. I think that people are very disappointed with what happened last cycle. Again, I've said this until I'm blue in the face. There was an active SEC lawsuit against Ripple Labs during the last bull market. Still did a 16x from its lows, did not make a new all-time high. Again, it's why I don't get stuck up on all-time highs. Returns are returns, right? If you have a gap there and the gap is 5x or 10x, that can be a lot more than a new all-time high. I don't care about new all-time highs. I don't care about price. I care about returns. I think that XRP is more than ready for a new all-time high, especially with the most important piece in the SEC v. Ripple Labs case completely settled. XRP within itself does not represent an investment contract or a security. That is why we got that mass relisting immediately after that portion of the ruling, even though there is still pending litigation in the SEC v. Ripple Labs case when it relates to institutional sales. So that's the whole reason that Coinbase and Kraken and everyone else was able to relist same day. And we actually got a 2x pop in XRP price because of that. Now, of course, we were still bear market territory, so we came back down, excitement died off. It is what it is. But I think that XRP now has the positioning, especially from being one of the only digital assets with legal clarity, to absolutely create some fantastic new all-time highs this coming cycle.
Now we see XRP, we foresee it performing very well this cycle, better than the last, Matty. But maybe the question should be is, can XRP exceed our expectations this bull run?
Yeah, and that's something that we keep a portion of our bag to be prepared for, right? I definitely, like I said, do that first big chunk at TP1. I just want to start de-risking a little bit, especially when you've been accumulating for years. You don't want to get greedy with it. And that's the number one mistake that most people make. I can tell you that because I've made the mistake in previous cycles. And anyone tells you I've never made that mistake, I've always sold at the top and I've always bought the bottom, they're absolutely lying to you. I want to make sure that I'm taking some profits there. So I do have some portions of my bag, my moon bags, if you will, to see if we do get that, blow off expectation. Let's say a $50 XRP. Do I think that that's incredibly likely this cycle? No, I think it's pretty a low likeliness, but I will have a portion of my bag that is ready for that. Now in future cycles, again, because we're going to reaccumulate, we're going to have part of our bag that we don't sell. That's going to remain tax-free because we didn't sell it. I do think that, being able to borrow against XRP, when XRP is worth $50, $100, $150, $200, over multiple cycles, that's really where I get very excited because now I have a lot of value that's still in the market and I have a lot of liquidity I can do other things with. So do I think that we reach $20 or more with XRP this cycle? Yeah, I think that's incredibly likely. I think that's probably where our blow off top is, somewhere like in the low to mid 20s.
Team, you guys have been given a gift, and that gift is time. You have plenty of time to get into the market at this point. A lot of our picks are still below the 23.6% Fibonacci. Some are, some aren't. But a lot of the cryptos we talk about on these shows we do every week are still presenting great buying opportunities. I know a lot of people are, scared. The people that are in crypto are a little scared about, Bitcoin price right now and what that can mean for our altcoins. But I know in the coming weeks, people are going to be interested in getting into crypto. And you guys need to be prepared. So do not waste any more time. All that money that you have on standby, make sure you are deploying it. Make sure you are DCAing. Make sure that that fiat bag is secure, ready to go. If we do see Bitcoin break below a $50,000 Bitcoin, which would be absolutely insane, but it can happen, right, Matty? Nothing's off the table here. Everyone wants to put things like, oh, we will never see this again.
Never going to happen.
But expect the unexpected here, team. Expect that we will see a 40K, not a 40K Bitcoin, maybe like a 45K Bitcoin, but expect that and be prepared for that move, just as you should be prepared or preparing, DCAing right now your cryptos. Best, worst case scenario, you need to be ready for that. Team, we will see you guys next week. Thanks for joining us today. If you got something valuable here, make sure you leave a like and we will see you next week. Bye.